Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. This is the Group of Five Deep Dive. I'm Mike Calabrese, joined by my co-host Duck. We made it all the way here to Week 14. It is Feast Week, and if you're hearing that, you may also have an appetite for some college hoops. Check your podcast feed. Duck, Tanner McGrath, and I broke down the three major tournaments. That's the Players Era, Battle for Atlantis, and Maui. Some of it's still going to be relevant. Some of it is going to be a little bit dated in terms of those plays in the first round, but still a chance to hear our take on the college hardwood. There's going to be a lot more of that coming from the BBOC universe in the coming weeks before we switch in earnest in January into full college basketball coverage. But we're going to be doing a little bit of that, a little bit of bowl coverage coming up in the next few weeks, which is very exciting. A busy time of the year, but really the best time of year. Duck, what are your thoughts here as we head into Thanksgiving week in college football? The whole journey this season and where your head is at now that you're pulling double duty.
Yeah, really a fun season in the college leagues, and we're going to get another great week of college football. All the conference championship races are going to shake out. The Mountain West is chaos. Conference USA is a three-headed race. The American still needs to shake out. There's so much that needs to play out. We're all hopefully still holding our 40-1 Southern Miss futures in the Sun Belt West to possibly get to the game where we can make an assessment on what we want to do to make a little money. It's been a great season. I'm really excited about getting college hoops fired up here, but I wanted to just take a quick minute and wish all of our loyal listeners a happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate you sticking with us this year. We've had a lot of fun. We've gotten to the window quite a bit for you, and looking forward to running that back again next year. But before that, we'll get on the hardwood here and spend some time in the college hoop scene. But for now, we're going to get some best bets to the window.
I know I speak for Duck on this one. I'm thankful for the audience. You guys have been phenomenal this season, maybe more so than any year that we've had thus far. We had the weekend warm-up show that we, debuted on Fridays. We're going to try to have some variation of that during college basketball season so you can cut it up with us in real time, hit us with live questions, the interactions on the live show on Saturday, the comments, the five-star reviews, liking and subscribing to the YouTube channel. It's really helped us grow our brand. And we wouldn't have a show, we wouldn't have an opportunity to do this for a living if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you so much. I hope that everyone enjoys their Thanksgiving and that we can give you some winners. But before we get into those best bets, let's toss it over to Stuckey for a quick word from our sponsor, DraftKings.
The Big Bets on Campus podcast is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. And in partnership with DraftKings, our listeners get a great offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has you covered. Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. To get started, use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. Again, that's code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings for 3 months of NBA League Pass and $200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours.
Thanks, Ducky. And now, before we get into our best bets for Week 14, if you'd like to tail some of the bets that you're about to hear, the best way to do it is to find the quick slip link in the video and episode descriptions, or visit actionnetwork.com/betnow. Or even better, sign up for Action Pro because it is that time of the year. We have a great deal as a part of our Black Friday sale, which is now live. Sign up for an Action Pro annual subscription, and your first 3 months are only $19.99. Action Pro users get real-time alerts as soon as experts like Stuckey, Colin Wilson, Duck, and myself track bets in the app. And without Action Pro, you'd have to wait 30 minutes to get those alerts and risk not getting the best number. You also get access to real-time money percentages, see where the smart money is flowing, betting percentages, key indicators about, where you should be placing your money. All of this is available with Action Pro. And this is important because as we get into player prop season for March Madness, everything in the spring, NBA on a daily basis, you're going to want to get those player prop projections powered by Sean Kerner and his predictive analytics team. And soon Nick Giffen is going to be weighing in as well with his unbelievable men's basketball predictions. Anyone who has ridden him during March Madness really in the last 3 years knows that that guy is an absolute ATM. The deal is over soon though, so go to actionnetwork.com/pro to sign up for an annual subscription, and your first 3 months are just $19.99. That's actionnetwork.com/pro. All right, and with that, it's now time for our best bets here in Week 14. Duck, please take it away with really the safest bet in college football, which is Meet Meep, the Roadrunners in the Alamo Dome. They're laying a number. It felt a little trappy to me because I feel you don't have to be a college football expert to know that UTSA has been a covering machine and certainly an outright machine at home in San Antonio, yet they're only laying 6.5 against Army. Why do you think that is before you get into, all of the analytics and go under the hood with why UTSA is a good play here? Do you think anything smells fishy with this number?
I mean, not necessarily based on Army's style of play, their propensity to play in close games. This is actually a pretty heated battle. San Antonio is a pretty intense military town, and Army takes this game very seriously. They show up. They generally play pretty well in the Alamo Dome. And I think when you're just making a power ratings play, when you're trying to assess the totality of the season for both and then factor in some home field, I mean, there's really not much more you can do other than 6.5, 7, 7.5, whatever it might be. So you really can't go much higher on this. I was surprised to see it steam over 7, but I still like the play. And I'll ask anybody, how much more do we need to see from these guys at home in the dome? UTSA is just such a different team. We've had strong home showings in every game this season outside of that first game against Texas State at home. Robert Henry could be back at running back. San Antonio, you look at the dome and the way that they defend it and the way they throw the ball around. I don't think Army's defense is going to be able to rack up enough pressure on McCown to get him rattled. Army ranks just 125th overall in defensive havoc. They can't stop the pass. The Black Knights 127th in pass play success allowed. UTSA excellent at home in securing explosive plays, and McCown a 25-6 touchdown to interception ratio, 18 touchdowns, 0 interceptions at home. I don't trust Army's pass defense. I do trust the triangle of toughness and that UTSA defense at home. Just look what they did in recent games against Tulane and ECU. Just completely dominated the trenches, really wreaked havoc on the opposing quarterbacks. I think it's going to be real, real trouble here for Army. There's only one more thing that matters for Army this season, and it's not beating UTSA. I'm laying it here with the Roadrunners, -7.5.
I like that one a lot too. I think it's the only side you could potentially have in a game like this. You can't step in front of the UTSA freight train when it comes to them playing on their home turf inside the Alamo Dome. All right, I'm going to go to Conference USA UTEP at Delaware. The Blue Hens laying 5.5. I'm going to lay it. Blue Hens are still one win away from bowl eligibility, as we've stressed time and time again. Yes, they are ineligible, but if there's not enough teams to qualify, which is looking increasingly likely as we head towards bowl season, or if a team backs out because a coach quits or there's some team mutiny, which has happened before, bam, UDEL could get in if and only if they get to 6 wins. Here they are sitting at 5-6. Let's review real quick how Delaware has played in Newark this season. And to the commenters out there, they always give Stucky shit for this for some reason. It's Newark, it's Newark. No, it's not. It is Newark, Delaware. If you're not from Delaware or you're not from southeastern Pennsylvania, maybe you don't know that, but just a heads up there to the people in the comment section. Let's look at how they played in Newark, all right? They handled FCS, in-state rival Delaware State. They upset a 9-win UConn team in overtime. They outgained an 8-win Western Kentucky team by 100 yards in a fluky 27-24 loss. Then they beat Middle Tennessee by 3, and they beat Louisiana Tech by 1. UTEP, meanwhile, is drawn dead. They're 2-9. This whole Scotty Walden, let's do it with relentless enthusiasm. It hasn't worked. This is a podcast that was built on Minor Nation. We would love to see them playing some good football. That has just not been the case in 2025. They've lost 4 straight. They've given up 30 plus in all 4 of those losses. The quarterback play is simply not there. Skylar Locklear, his QBR during this losing streak, 36.2. And on the other side, just in the quarterback battle, Minicucci's going to cook this UTEP defense. They struggle to rush the passer. They're even worse in coverage. And from a clean pocket, he has 15 big-time throws this season and 16 passing touchdowns. So if you give him time, he can absolutely pick you apart. And if you can't get to him, he's got a little wiggle. He's got, that game from earlier this season where he had 3 rushing touchdowns. If he has a lot of time and he's, seeing clearly, he's got the passing lanes, he can also tuck it and run. So something to consider in this one. And last thing, longest road trip in Conference USA, at least as the crow flies, more or less an equal distance in terms of New Mexico State or UTEP to go all the way cross country to UDEL. But this is a brutal late season road trip for a team that's basically throwing up the white flag. In 5 roadies this year, UTEP has scored a touchdown in the first quarter only twice. Otherwise, they've been shut out. And one of those times was against Sam Houston. So a slow start. UDEL having a little bit of juice. The crowd's probably going to be there for the last home game of their inaugural FBS season. UDEL's going to jump all over them. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 5.5. Duck, what do you got for your second best bet here in week 14?
Yeah, so I like Coastal Carolina's team total under 15 and a half. I would anticipate JMU's defense to really show up and give a strong performance here, as they have much of the way in the second half of the season. And I would expect Coastal's offense to show up dead on arrival here. Samari Collier is out, and he was really the draw that stirs the drink for Coastal's resurgence on offense. If you remember, before he was inserted into the lineup the first 4 or 5 games of the season, this Coastal offense could hardly get a first down, let alone move the ball down the field and score points. You just can't count on these guys to do anything without him. And now JMU is coming to town to put the bow on the perfect conference season, to really, it's really the closing argument for JMU for their validity to be the top G5 team and make their playoff push here. I think they still feel a little disrespected about how Tulane was able to get in, or get into the top ranking anyway. I look at JMU's defense. They do not give up explosive plays. You can't run the ball effectively on these guys. They're giving up less than 3 yards per carry on the ground this year, zero explosive rushing plays. The front seven creates havoc as good as anyone at the G5 level. I just don't see this going well for Coastal Carolina. We remember when Tad Hudson was the starting quarterback, and it looked just so jerky and just so choppy offensively for Coastal Carolina. I can't see them getting right here. And I really just don't see a lot of motivation for what this team is showing up for this week. JMU has all the motivation in the world. I think their defense is locked in here. I think they win this game comfortably, and Coastal will stay under the 15 and a half.
All right, I'll close out week 14 with my second best bet. UL Monroe traveling in state to play Louisiana, formerly Louisiana Lafayette. The Raging Cajuns laying 11 and a half. I like the favorite in this one. This is another dead team walking conversation. You talked about it just then with Coastal. The Warhawks, I mean, yes, somehow they beat Arkansas State 28-16 back on September 27th. Since then, though, they have just fallen off a cliff offensively. They've been held to single digits 3 times, below 15 points 6 times since September 27th. The offense is just completely listless. They got dominated by Texas State, who we've talked many times throughout the season. That was the missing component. They had no defense. They were a half team. They didn't score at all until halfway until the third quarter against the Bobs, which is just pathetic. And Louisiana, you guessed it, it's going to be a theme of this episode for me. They need one more win to make a bowl game. And Michael Desormeaux, by the way, every year that he's been a head coach, he's led his team to a bowl game. So you know him and his staff, they care about this. It's why they've dug deep, and pulled out 3 straight wins to get into this position. They also gave James Madison, Southern Miss, and Troy games. Those were all below 2 touchdowns in terms of the margin. For a team that just didn't have anything go right at the beginning of the year, losing Walker Howard, they got off the mat. And a big reason for that was Lunch Winfield. He's punched in 10 total touchdowns in these 3 games that they've reeled off at the end of the season. He's a killer on the ground. And when you look at the comps, the Warhawks have not been able to stop rushing quarterbacks. They got cooked by Colton Joseph for 3 rushing touchdowns. Samari Collier, who you just mentioned, gave him 86 on the ground and a score. Brad Jackson, too, 88 on the ground and a pair of TDs. This is a good blowout spot for the Cajuns. I think this is going to launch them into their bowl game. This is the kind of season that could have been, a lost year and really hurt them in the transfer market and recruiting at the high school level. But instead, they can get to a point and say, listen, another year, another bowl game under Desormeaux. I really like the Cajuns here. I think this is also, to borrow a phrase of yours, Duck, I think this is a margin call situation. They could win this one by north of 3 touchdowns, and then all of a sudden you're getting a tasty payout on that. Any thoughts on the alternate line between Monroe and Louisiana Lafayette?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I was a little disappointed in Texas State last week that they didn't get us to the window. They had so many chances to score, and they just could not formulate enough successful plays to move the ball into the red zone, and they didn't score enough points. But the defense showed up. I think Louisiana Monroe is just a dead team walking. There's very little motivation. We see such uninspired play from the offense. I don't think the defense is playing well enough to be able to contain what Louisiana is going to throw out there offensively. This is a rivalry game. I think if the Cajuns are going to be able to punch another one in late, just for the hell of it, I think they'll do it. I think Louisiana has a lot of motivation here to get to bowl eligibility. Yeah, I like this one a lot. I think Louisiana could win this, end up winning this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, lunch Winfield's gone from that like sad brown bag lunch to potentially one of those nice corporate box lunches you get. Maybe it has nice chicken salad, some sliced grapes in there, the artisan potato chips. Everyone's who's had to sit through some kind of symposium knows when those box lunches are coming out. He's a premier lunch. This is going to be a premier performance. All right, this gets us to your 4 minute offense, which is a doozy in Conference USA. I know it's been a punching bag or a punch line for much of the season in terms of the level of play top to bottom. But now we got Western Kentucky, we got Jacksonville State. The winner goes to the championship game of CUSA. This one could be potentially pretty fun. Walk me through what you're seeing.
Yeah, this is a really fun game here. Like you had mentioned, the winner goes, the loser still could go, but likely not. A really big revenge spot last year from when Jacksonville State defeated Western Kentucky handily in the Conference USA title game last season. I look at WKU, their offense has really found something since they've inserted freshman quarterback Rodney Tisdale in at quarterback, completing 67% of his passes, a 9-3 touchdown to interception ratio in conference play. Jacksonville State defensively has been torched through the air most of the way this season. The last 6 or 7 weeks have been particularly bad. The J-State pass rush is graded as the best in the conference, so there's a chance that that front seven can create a little pressure, but I would assume that Tisdale can wiggle out of that and create some plays with his legs, as he's shown some escapability since he's been inserted as at quarterback. I don't think WKU defensively is really going to be able to stop the ground attack for Jacksonville State. We should see a ton of explosive plays on the ground. The Gamecocks have rushed for 250 yards or more in their last three, and in 7 of their last 8 games overall. Major trouble coming for WKU defensively. I think, you look at both teams, they both have pretty decent special teams. The field goal operations are solid. Western Kentucky has the better red zone defense, and that is really a concern here because Jacksonville State has settled for plenty of empty trips or kicked a ton of field goals. You look at the red zone percentage, Jacksonville State just 63% touchdowns and 13 red zone field goals this season. If J State can capitalize in the red zone, if they cash in for 7, they're going to win this football game outright. So, yeah, I think I also look at WKU. Their red zone offense has been better since Tisdale has taken over. If you look at the numbers over the course of the season, they don't look that impressive. But I think, since Tisdale has taken over, that team is cashing in. Western Kentucky's cashing in the red zone for 6. I don't think either one of these defenses is very good. I think we're going to get some seat of your pants football. Everyone's going to, throw out the record books, to pull out all the stops, empty the playbook, whatever you want to say. I think it's a high scoring game. You can go find 54 and a half, I think is available with our friends over at DraftKings. I like the over here. I think both these teams have a chance to get into the 30s. It should be back and forth football. Not a lot of weather that would inhibit any sort of big plays or scoring. I think over 54 and a half is where we should go here.
I'm going to lay the points with Western. It's sitting at about 2.5 out there in the market right now. And I've heard plenty of sharp people in our industry call both the toppers and the cocks at separate times this season frauds. And I get why they say that. Jacksonville State is a one-trick pony. If you don't get killed by Cam Cook, you can beat them. The problem is he's run all over every single Conference USA defense. He's averaging 146 yards per game on the ground in conference play with 11 rushing scores across just those 7 games. But guess what? Western Kentucky, if they want to hang their hat on anything, 29th in rush success defense, 65th in line yards, 47th in stuff rate, and they just held LSU. I understand that LSU, their head was not in it. They kind of were going through the motions. Physically, they had everything that they needed, to be able to just bully them at the line of scrimmage. They held the Bayou Bengals at 3.4 yards per carry. And as you said, Tisdale running the show, it's just a different situation. Throw out the LSU game. I don't care about that. He's not going to face any athletes like that in this game against Jacksonville State. And his 3 starts before that, 3 wins, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 337 total yards per game. So I think the offense has been reborn. Bowie knows how to use him in this system. So I'm going to go with Western here and just hope that they can put 15 guys in the box, everyone's eyes on Cam Cook. Just don't let this guy go off for 200 yards. And I think they win this game and cover this number. All right, with that, it's time for our G5 Moneyline Parlay presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And we've been close many times, so it's time to get over that hump here. I'm going to get this started. I swore off the Mac, but here I am at the end of the season pulling a Mac team out because there just weren't that many enticing dogs in G5 land this week, in my opinion. A lot of teams that either had a lot to play for or teams that have thrown up the white flag. But I'm going to go with Kent State plus 185 on the money line. And if you take out their blowout loss to Toledo, where I think Toledo scored 45 straight points in that game, if you take that one out, they've been competitive for 6 weeks out of 7, let's call it. They beat the crap out of UMass. They nipped Bowling Green in a close win. They won the goddamn wagon wheel in overtime. That put a lot of wind in their sails to have these guys continuing to believe and to play for their coaching staff. And maybe they're all headed for the portal or greener pastures, but they want to put some good things on tape, and they've done that. They lost by 4 against Ball State, and they left points on the board in a 12-point loss at Central Michigan, where they missed a kick in the second half that potentially would have given them a chance maybe to tie it late. Really, that kind of swung the game. But my point being, this is a Kent State team that we all wrote off. The coaching turmoil, the personnel continuity issues, who was going to play quarterback. This team had nothing. This team was a candidate to go, 0 for or maybe have one win. And here they are with 4 already at this point in the season. And now they're going up against, an NIU team as a favorite. Hard pass whenever it comes to the Huskies. When they're in a spot where they are a favorite, they are 11, 25, and 1 under Hammock against the spread. In those 37 games, they've lost outright 18 times. Of teams with at least 20 such games as a favorite, that's the lowest winning percentage in FBS football since 2019 when Hammock took over. Now, when I look at the actual personnel on the field, I talked about, the Golden Flashes not having much of it. Well, Drew DeShields has been a really promising freshman. Uneven, but you know what? That's what you're going to get from freshmen this year. But when he runs around, he can make big plays happen. And as I said earlier in the season, when I was watching that game against Buffalo, that they almost won outright, ended up losing 31-28. I've never seen a guy make more throws running full speed at the line of scrimmage than him. At this point, it's not a fluke. He's like a three-point shooter who knows exactly where the stripe is. He knows how to get so close to it. And what's interesting is if you have linebackers who are not natural in coverage, who are not used to that, they get stuck in that no man's land where all of a sudden the coaching staff, the D linemen, they're yelling at the quarterback scrambling, they turn their head around. That's where he's hurt teams. So it's just from, a perspective of actually watching this kid play. I've seen what he can do, and I don't think it's all fluky in terms of the big plays that he's created. NIU, by the way, if they fall behind in this game and DeShield starts making some plays, their offense is brutal. If they don't break a long run, which has been the only thing that's saved their bacon this entire season, they're screwed because they have no consistency offensively. They have no consistency in the run game, no real push there. And the quarterback play, you could argue, it can't get any worse at the FBS level. From a success rate perspective on aerials this year, they're dead last, 136th out of 136 teams at the FBS level. They never found a replacement for Trayvon Rudolph, and not being able to have that game breaker, even just to take the top off the defense, that's clearly hurt them deeply this year. He's such a valuable asset for that Toledo offense. By the way, I think like the last piece of it here, the last note that I want to go over, they're clearly their heart and their head is already in the Mountain West. They've said goodbye to the MAC. I don't know exactly the moment when they had their farewell in their mind, but they're gone. Kent, kick their asses out the door on the way out here because this has been a shameful performance really since their upset of Notre Dame. They're just like, you're welcome, MAC. We're just going to mail it in the rest of the way here. I did not see them necessarily playing this kind of football, where they scored 3 points earlier against San Diego State this season and then never figure it out offensively. You would think, given their success in past years with Rocky Lombardi, gritty, finding ways to win, even getting creative in the run game, running some wildcat, running some jet sweeps, like do something. They're dead on arrival here. So I'm going to take a Kent team that I never thought these words would come out of my mouth. They have juice, they have excitement. And I think they're going to win this one on the field, to borrow a phrase from a man Duck here. All right, what are we pairing it up with for the G5 Moneyline Parlay? Lay your little piece of magic on me here.
Love it. Kent State Golden Flash is on the field. Yeah, we're going to pair it up with Utah State. The Aggies have been absolutely lights out at home this season, 5-0 straight up and against the number. The play of the Utah State defense over the last several weeks has been impressive. Really put the clamps on Fresno State in the second half. They did fairly well against that UNLV rushing attack. It was the field goal kicker who really cost them that game. But done well has Utah State in preventing big plays against them, 51st nationally in limiting explosiveness. The secondary has been pretty good against the pass. And, I look at last week, the Broncos were in a good spot to take advantage of lifeless Colorado State and really put up a big number at home on the blue turf. It looked so bad the previous 2 games. for Boise State's offense. And I really just don't know that I trust Boise State to go on the road at Utah State. The ground attack has just been average, nothing like we saw last year. Boise's offense, 127th nationally in explosive plays registered. We look at the front seven on defense for the Broncos, not nearly what it was last season. Utah State should be able to protect Bryson Barnes. They're going to throw the ball around a little bit here. The offense for Utah State has been really good at securing explosive plays, and Boise gives that up a ton on defense. That Boise defense could absolutely get shredded here, something I would really be concerned about. But at the end of the day, when you look at Max Kupferth, I just do not trust him to step in on the road. I like the spot for Utah State. I just think when you look at how many times Utah State has been embarrassed by Boise State over the years, and there's even been some times where they've been really, really close and just can't get there. This is the year they're motivated. They've got the staff that can scheme it up. I think Utah State is really dangerous in their home finale. I think they can win this game on the field. So I took 3.5 as an official play. I like the money line. We're going to log that in the app. Utah State will win this game outright on Friday.
If you head over now to DraftKings, you can lock this in at 6-1. All right, that's our Moneyline Parlay presented by DraftKings. Check out the Parlay Express account in the free award-winning Action Network app where this will be posted. You can also find a bunch of other long shot bets and fun parlays there as well. Also, you can go to the episode description for the quick slip link. It's both in the episode and video description, or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now to find and tail some of the bets that we've discussed here thus far in the show. All right, Duck, it is 2-minute drill time, which for you means some FCS action. The playoffs, like how excited are you about this field at the FCS level? And before you even get into this 2-minute drill, just a quick 60 seconds. This is not business as usual, correct? This is not just two absolute behemoths just barreling towards an FCS championship game. This feels like an open field, right?
I think so. North Dakota State is the best team in FCS, but I don't think that they're unbeatable. I don't think they are without weakness. And I look at some of the results that they have played to this season, 38-30 against Youngstown State, 15-10 against North Dakota. This team, at any point in time, if you get the right matchup, there are several teams in this field that can give North Dakota State a game. They're a deserved favorite. They're a heavy favorite. But this is going to be a really, really fun playoff. I was just so disappointed. I thought the selection committee did okay at selecting the teams. I was really disappointed that Monmouth, as 32-point favorites, lost at home to Albany because if they hadn't lost outright, they would have been in the field and somebody else would have been bumped. So I'm sad for Derek Robertson. I'm sad for Monmouth that they didn't get in. I thought they should have deserved to get in if they would have won, but they didn't. So that's the way it goes. Fun, though, really, really fun time of the year to get the playoffs rolling. And I'm going to get my 2-minute drill rolling with the University of South Dakota. Projected about 13 or 14 and a half here, rematch of an earlier season game played with Drake. This was played really before the Yotes started rolling here. But you look at how that game played. USD controlled it throughout. They led 42-7 before taking the fourth quarter off. The Yotes should absolutely dominate in the trenches here on defense. They'll create a ton of negative plays. I do not think that Drake will be able to block it up front. They're not skilled enough to pass the ball out of trouble. Pioneer Football League teams are used to getting pounded in the first round of the playoffs year after year after year, and this will be no different. If it's under 2 touchdowns, it's going to be a really sizable play. But anything under 20, I'm going to have a play on the Yotes. Next, we're going to South Dakota State and New Hampshire. I'm looking at under 48. New Hampshire is really going to struggle against this SDSU defense, which does not give up explosive plays through the air, and the secondary has 14 interceptions on the season. Chase Mason is still up in the air on if he's going to play, if he's not going to play. The Jacks were really, really run heavy last week, and I would anticipate they run the ball here a ton and have some success on the ground. It is going to be absolutely freezing cold in Brookings on Saturday. 22 degrees before you factor the wind chill and possibilities of some snow. This weather stinks to play in. It's going to be hard for both teams to get it rolling offensively. We're going to see a lot of punting possessions, a slow burning grinder. I'm taking the under if it's 48 and a half or so. Last one, we're going to Yale. We saw the formula for Yale last week when they defeated Harvard handily to win the Ivy League. They play stout defense. They don't give up explosives. They get to the quarterback on defense. They are going to create some major issues for Y State quarterback Bo Brungard. He's the team's leading rusher. He's a really good passer, but he's really the one-man operation. They've got a few other pieces around them for the Penguins, but he's really the do-it-all guy. And it's going to be tough for him to really get it going against this Yale front. Offensively, Yale is absolutely going to pound the rock with Josh Pitzenberger. He's a really solid running back. We saw it on display on ESPNU last week. But he's the guy. He's run for 1,300 yards this season, and he is going to gash Youngstown State's defense, which has been torched week after week after week this year. The Ivy League is very good. I think they're underrated. Yale can win this game outright, and we're getting 3.5. I'm going to take those points with Yale.
All right, for my 2 minute drill, let's go San Diego State, short favorite on the road at New Mexico and Albuquerque. The Aztecs are laying a 1.5. Gonna break some news here. Jason Eck isn't long for Albuquerque. I think just everybody probably feels that in their gut. It hasn't been reported on all that much, but there are too many games, excuse me, there are too many jobs that are going to come open for a guy who won too many games this year. It was an impossible situation. Everybody looked at Bronco leaving, Devin Dampier leaving, Jason Beck leaving, and we figured if he wins 3 or 4 games, that's solid momentum. That's keeping, the program upright. Then he goes and wins 8 games somehow. Like he has all these, pieces that on paper shouldn't have been able to mesh together. Just an insanely good coaching job. And now you have this coaching carousel where not only are there massive jobs that have yet to be filled, but because there's so many and there's so many, itchy trigger fingers with athletic directors holding them all across the country, there's going to be a domino effect. And there's going to be big jobs filled and then medium P4 jobs filled. And then from that, they're going to be poaching all over the place at the G5 level. They're going to be looking around pretty soon and they're going to say to themselves, who's the best guy I can get? And Jason Eck is going to be 1 or 2 on those coaching lists for a lot of G5 schools and really for some of those middle range Power Four schools as well. He's proven that he can win and do more with less. So what more do you need out of this guy? And while I love everything that he's done, I respect them. They beat one team I respect all season long, and that was UNLV, and they're a half team. They beat him 40-35 in a shootout because otherwise it was Idaho State, FCS, UCLA before the offensive makeover. They were just absolutely dreadful. New Mexico State, Nevada, Utah State, which, they've just kind of been an up and down team. Certainly their home and away splits kind of trouble me. Colorado State after the Rams clearly quit on the season, and then Air Force without Zarka. That's their whole resume. So I don't see it. I want the Aztecs in this spot because they still have a salty defense that has held 7. That's right, 7 different teams to single digits or shut them out. This should be a much bigger story. Everybody just wants to fight on Twitter, on X. Should we have any G5 teams in the playoff? Why don't we start celebrating these teams? Enough about the goddamn playoff. Like, if North Texas makes it in, or, another American school, or James Madison, they lose by 3 touchdowns, then the argument's going to swing to, oh, the G5's trash. The G5 is not trash. And I want to celebrate one of the best stories, which is San Diego State's defense. These guys have been absolute killers, and a win here clinches them a trip to the Mountain West title game. That's all I need to know. Because this game is being played on a Friday, they can't just wait it out and see where the other games shake out. They have to win it on the field. I think you're going to get premium effort, and I think New Mexico is just a little bit overrated. All right, going to close out my 2 minute drill with this. Temple at North Texas. North Texas laying 19.5. Wait, hold on, Duck. I feel like the referee, they're blowing this play dead. They're going to a review. They want you in the booth. They're waving you over. Can you look in here and tell us what's wrong with the Temple offense? Because they've screwed you on like 4 bets this year, and they're a well-coached team. Casey Keeler, we love him here at the Group of 5 Deep Dive. This offense just hasn't worked. Why has the Owls offense been flightless really for the past month?
I don't know. They put up so many good performances when we haven't talked about them, and then we do talk about them, and it's just been such a struggle in recent weeks. And the last 2 home performances against East Carolina and Tulane have been really, really disheartening. We've seen the pass offense look just so choppy. Evan Simon has not been sharp and crisp. And they could struggle again this week, too. Again, North Texas, we saw it last week against Rice. Even in a 14-0 hole, you're never out of covering the number because their motivation is to score as many points as possible. They score quickly. How many explosive, long 70-yard touchdown passes did we see against the Owls? Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough for Temple here in this one. I think the Mean Green are on schedule to score a ton of points this week. I was really disappointed in Temple's offense last week. I thought they had some chances. I thought they made some stupid mistakes. They had some holding calls that pushed them back. It was just so disappointing to see that team not get on a roll after scoring the first touchdown, taking a 7-3 lead. Thought we had a chance for a little while, looked kind of fun, and then ended up being just an absolute turd show in the second half. So shitty performance from Temple. I was pissed off about it. I'm not happy that that's how the Owls decided to go out. No bowl game for Casey Keeler. Progress, yes. Am I happy with what the Owls have done? No.
A shitty turd show performance from Temple. You heard it here from our man Duck. From that dysfunctional offense to the hottest offense in America. Since North Texas's loss to South Florida, they've averaged 50 points per game, 5-0. Hawkins can go for 200 on the ground. Mestamaker has shredded bad defenses all year long. And Temple is 96 in coverage, 94th in pass defense success rate. And also, last piece of the puzzle here. This is UNT and their fan bases. This is their last chance to see Eric Morris. I can talk about Jason Ack and project that he's going to go again a job. Eric Morris is going to be the Arkansas coach in like 15 minutes. So they can go ahead, clinch a berth in the AAC title game, storm the field, be out there, have a great moment as a community in Denton. You earned it. They're going to do it in blowout fashion. 19 and a half is just not enough points. I think they win this one by closer to 28, 35 points, somewhere in that range. All right, Duck, any closing thoughts here? Because the next time we talk, we're not going to have a full slate to dissect anymore. We're just going to have our conference championship games next week. Then we're going to be hopping into college hoops. Any final thoughts here on the last full Saturday of the season?
It's going to be real interesting to see how it all shakes out. The MAC is still up for grabs. Western Michigan should play pretty well tomorrow night. I think, when people are listening to this one, I think it'll be fascinating to see Michigan MAC trophies on the line. That defense has carried them throughout the entirety of the MAC season. We get Bowling Green UMass that starts at 4:30 Eastern time. No one's going to be in the stands for that one. We get Navy on prime time on Thanksgiving Day. We're all sitting around the Thanksgiving Day table watching Navy. It's going to be a real fun weekend. But I agree with what you said earlier. People dog on the G5 and say that they're garbage. This has been a lot of fun football this year. We've had some bad football, but we've had a lot of fun football this year. We've seen a lot of great breakout players. It's been a treat this year for sure.
That'll do it for today's episode of the Group of Five Deep Dive under the Big Bets on Campus banner presented by DraftKings. Thanks as always for tuning in. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app and leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to the pod. Remember, if you'd like to tail some of the bets that we've discussed in today's episode, look for the quick slip link in the episode description. You can also go to actionnetwork.com/bet. Now, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel because as I said, we are scaling up. College basketball is going to be added in there basically on a daily basis before you know it. So you want to subscribe, you want to like, you want to comment. So it's at the absolute top of your feed and will be mentioned for other people who are looking for like-minded content. Thank you so much for listening to the Big Bets on Campus podcast. And as always, best of luck with all your bets.